I don't know what we can talk about in this nation without talking about white superiority, honestly.
Who defines the meaning of God also defines the relationship between economy and God.
African Americans spent $1.3 trillion last year, making us the 16th wealthiest nation in the world. Why have we not turned those riches into wealth to develop our community?
Hey, Felicia, how you doing? Peace.
Hey, Taki, how you doing?
I'm all right. So listen, It's been a while since we've been here. I'm like, you know,
I couldn't.
our folks, it's kind of getting this thing back together again. I think the last show we did was in sometime in August.
It was.
Wow. Well, how they say it's like riding a bike. So, you know, we got to get right back to it. Peace, fam. How's everyone doing? Give everyone a chance to kind of get settled in and come to another exciting edition of HAPI Talks. I'm their host, Taki Grant, with Felicia HAPI, excuse me. And
I wanted to come back with something from this for the new season, but I couldn't think of nothing. So it's
couldn't think of nothing. Okay. Well, we have an exciting show tonight, very informative, educational, transformative as well, about from Egypt to Brazil, Africans who were not having it and who fought back. Such an interesting topic. But before we get into that, we just want to kind of get into a couple different things. We have some happy announcements. Get a chance for people to get in the building. Fam, if you're here already, just please do the happy favor and share. Hit the like button and share it. No, we're a little late from our original start time. So folks may have started doing other things, but just let people know that we are live and ready to get started with this fantastic show. So one of the things is, you know, we are in a space and time where we're kind of looking at different things going on around the world and realize the importance of community. And we have to begin to, or not begin to, but this is something that we've been talking about for a very long time, particularly here in this country. And I think Black people really have to take note of that in this period and begin to be more intentional about community. And one of those things, you know, we want to talk about, we want to hear from you guys. We have the newsletter for those people who aren't familiar. And in the newsletter, typically we have articles by prominent scholars, as well as individuals who are kind of seasoned or skilled in a particular skill set, whether it be health or finance. But we want to expand that and allow people in the community, if you have something to say, something that's on your mind, something that you feel is newsworthy, you know, get at us, and we'll love to feature something that you want to share with the family in this newsletter. Felicia, you got anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, you know, we've had pretty good success, and later on down the line, some of the HAPI contributors to the newsletter, they're going to kind of come on and talk to everyone, so everyone can see like just who they are and their backgrounds. But yeah, I can't, I'm just going to just, how does Mfundishi say? Mfundishi Jhutyms, okay? How does he say, I'm going to veggie back on you, you know, in terms of like, this is a paper for the people. You know, we're just here to facilitate that, but we are 100% committed to making sure that, you know, that our voices are heard across the diaspora, not just, you know, from Taki and I. And so,
well, I like that, a paper for the people. And I want the family to really understand the context of that and significance, because that is an important piece. And also, if you have outside of just your intellectual thoughts that you want to share, for a while, we've been featuring businesses in the newsletter, and we want to open it up and expand it for family members who are interested in advertising their business in the HAPI newsletter. So it is a great tool. All things there's nothing we can do without going through the newsletter. And those people who have been a part of that, including ourselves, have had tremendous success with utilizing that as a means to get your message out. And as always, family, we here, we're doing these things. If you have an opportunity, we also have our clearance sale, Happy Gear. You can see Felicia and I have the unification Happy, our Unity shirts on. Please go to the store, happyfilm.com, and get your Happy merchandise and support Happy. For those people, always, we have the super chats on YouTube, Cash Apps as well. Definitely support that. And one of the other things is, we didn't mention this, please, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe and to us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, as well as X.
Yeah, because we're close to 40,000. We're close to 40,000 subscribers, and so it's really important, And this is the thing: like, we look at the analytics, and we're just like, okay, everybody's looking at our channel, but no one's like actually trying to subscribe. So it's like you guys are coming by, checking everything out. Just hit the little subscribe button. It costs nothing to do that.
Right.
It goes a long way for us.
Yes, definitely hit the subscribe button. And Happy Film. Yes, we made these announcements before, but it's available streaming on Amazon, Tubi, and Quaily TV. Please tell a friend to tell a friend and let them go to those platforms and watch it. So there it is. Please, did I leave anything out?
No, why do I feel like that's it? I think that's it. But I tell you, I know you said this is like riding a bike, but I'm sitting here. I'm just trying to make sure we said everything we have to these announcements. If we didn't, we're just going to come back, and say some more stuff.
Yes. Well, anyway, family, I know you guys been waiting for a long time. We appreciate those who are in this building. Please, if you're just coming in, we're going to repeat this. Please send it out. Please share it, like it, let people know that we're live. We're about an hour late, but definitely, help get the word out that we're here. So,
wait, we should just kind of give a shout out because these are our old timers. Well, not old timers.
Okay, no, please, let's do that. Definitely, let's give the shout outs.
We got Rashamela up in the house. Tanya's traveled with us now twice to Egypt. Strawberry 1995. We have Ron, Renee. That's what's up. And Anthony. Okay. And Brother La. I don't know Brother La. You know Brother La?
Not by name. My apologies.
Yeah, right there. Peace and blessings. That's what's up.
Okay. All right. Definitely. Peace and blessing. So, family, from Egypt to Brazil, Africans who were not having it and fought back. It's such a significant topic. We took some time to really think about it and to come up with something that we felt was relevant. And, we think of fighting back. It takes place in many forms. But the spirit of resistance is something that must live. So tonight we will delve deep into a powerful and often overlooked chapter in African resistance history. From Egypt to Brazil, Africans, like we said, who were not having it and fought back. We'll explore the legacy of Zumbi dos Palmares, one of Brazil's fiercest warriors, who led Africans in the fight for freedom in the 1600s. We'll also trace deep roots of African martial arts back to the tombs of the walls of Beni Hassan on Mahez, where some of the world's first depictions of hand-to-hand combat are recorded. This conversation is so important because it connects the dots between African warriors, traditions, and the freedom struggles of our ancestors. Family, just get ready for a powerful discussion. And with that, we're going to introduce Mfundishi Jhutyms.
Hey, Mfundishi Jhutyms.
Imhotep, Ankh Uja Senebneb, Dua Netcha.
Dua.
Imhotep, brother Mfundishi Jhutyms. Like that piece behind you, you put the camera up a little bit.
It's the judgment scene.
Okay, that's a nice size one.
Yeah.
It's the whole wall in the back. It wraps around. It wraps all the way around, showing Asar in his chamber. It shows Haru over here kneeling down with Anui. The only way to my father is through the son. That's where they get that. That's where the Christians get that from. all from this scene. This is the judgment scene.
Okay. Where'd you get that from? Because I want to know where you got that from.
No, we just ordered it online. We just co-opt the picture and put online. I even have the actual frame. When we go to some of the museums, the Papyrus Museum. This is one of the papyrus that they sell at the museums that we stop at.
Right.
So we just sent it out, and they enlarged it and made it a whole wall tapestry.
They enlarged it. Okay, definitely got to get with you to see. Check out that.
Yeah, there's a whole website. They do all that. So if you've been in the temple here, a lot of the pictures that you see all around are the real photographs, real nice. And then we just send it to the company, and they make a whole wall. We just tell them the measurement of the wall, and they make it the whole size of your wall.
Oh, wow. Okay, and tell everybody where your museum is.
So we're at 504 West 126th Street, off of Amsterdam Avenue. 504 West 126th Street, and we open back up to the public starting February 1st. And we have a couple of dynamic exhibits. We have a new exhibit. It features Kemet, but we also do Western Africa. So we have statues and carvings of all symbolizing Western Africa with artifacts and instruments and things of that nature all along the wall. So you get a Kemet tour, and then you get an interior of Africa tour. So you go East and West Africa, and we're putting up a new Malcolm X exhibit that'll start February the 20th.
21st. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So if people know that there's not too many people still alive that was a follower of Malcolm X. A lot of people claim to be there, but I was the first youth president of the Organization of Afro-American Unity in 1965. And so we've got pictures going from there and before that all the way up to his death, and then pictures afterwards with the family. In fact, some of our collection is so impressive that when Betty Shabazz saw it, she wanted some of the pictures, said, "This belongs to me." We said, "No, we took this pictures. It belonged to us." I know it's of you, but it's our pictures. So that exhibit will go up in February 20 plus, and it'll stay all the way till we celebrate Malcolm X's birthday on May 19th. People can go to the grave site, and then they can come back here to the museum and see a very extensive exhibit on Malcolm X, some of his speeches, photographs of family, places he's lectured, how other people affected, like news articles from the Times and magazines on how they projected Malcolm when he, during his life and then shortly after his death. So all of that is going to be on the exhibit here.
You said something very interesting a minute ago when you spoke about not the people who were around when Malcolm was around. And with that, we understand you just had a birthday just passed.
Yes, sir. 3/4 of a century.
3/4 of a century. Wow. Okay.
I know the average age of a Black man, I think, is 67. So I went past that, and the ancestors have blessed me for at least another 25.
Yeah. I mean, damn, you look it's amazing. I'm so amazed by your vitality.
That's in the 80s? Is that or early 90s?
Yeah, this picture. Yeah, I think I have the original, so it's kind of a little small, but yeah, I mean,
that's about 16, 17 years ago. But yeah, that was a little minute ago. But with that, 3/4 of a century, may the ancestors continue to bless you with more life. You definitely have been, you are tremendous. I can't overstate the importance of the work that you do to the community. And we definitely need you around a long, long time, So like I said, hopefully continue those years and vitality and health in your life, Uncle Jasaneb. So, when I think about the way and for those people who don't know family, Baba Mfundishi Jhutyms is like just a ton of energy, ball energy. You can't, I met the brother about 20 some odd years ago, and the same level of energy then is now. I haven't seen a difference at all in the terms of how he moves and he operates. With that being said, last year was a really busy year for you in terms of travel. You were in Egypt, actually twice.
Right.
Yeah. Or was it more than twice?
No, I went 3 times last year.
Three times, right? Because I forget about February last year. Yes.
Yeah, and so you know what? Like when you were talking about his vitality and just getting it in. This is Mfundishi and I in Pyramid Giza. Okay, and I was going down, and I think he was coming up. And I said, "Wait, let's take a picture." And it's so funny because all the people that's younger than him was complaining about, oh, it's so far down. Oh, it's hot. Oh, I'm gonna feel claustrophobic. And I think back here, you were still in your 70s because this is like, I don't know what year this was, but this was, and you were just up and down like this, like not even, stopping right there, stopping, taking a picture.
So wait a minute, hold on. I don't want to gloss over this. So you did 3 trips to Africa, well, to eat just to Kemet.
Yeah, I did 3 trips to Kemet, a trip to Brazil, and a trip to England and Jamaica.
Wow.
Oh, that's
so I think I made 8 trips altogether out of the country. Yeah.
And that for me is the amazing part. And not to mention you're the most recent.
And they weren't, let people know, they weren't touristy trips. They were all educational, where I met with Black people who were leaders in all those communities.
Right. So just thinking about the November piece, going back to the trip to the Nile, to the HAPI Valley, the HAPI Valley in November, then you had about a week, then you went to Brazil.
Right. No, I had 4 days and I went to Brazil.
4 days, less than a week. 4 days.
Right.
And,
so I came back from Egypt and I had 4 days and we jetted to Brazil and had and I stayed there for 2 weeks. The group trip was about 10 days, but I stayed extra 4 days because one of my students opened up a center in Rio de Janeiro, and I was one of the keynote speakers. So I stayed an extra 3 or 4 days after everybody went home when we went to Rio and did Rio de Janeiro.
Okay, so when we were really sitting down and really talking about this, one of the things that resonated was the spirit of resistance. But before we really get into that the spirit of resistance, that you saw, or with the stuff in Brazil, and obviously in Kemet, which we'll get into a little bit as well. But what are some of the reasons, or what motivated you to go to Brazil?
Well, they boast that Brazil has the largest number of Africans in the diaspora outside of the African continent. Now, one of the things when I really talked to scholars there, they said it might be true, but they said it's close to the same amount that's in America. See, what happened in Brazil, they're counting everybody, people who are octoroons, who want mix. In America, we got like 2/3 of what they have, but we got a lot of people who are of African descent who don't claim to be African in America. We got people who are undercolored. We got people who belong to the Hispanic community. They're Dominican, they're Puerto Rican, and they don't claim to be African, but they're as African as me and you. We got people who are in what's this category? Another category, the people who are mix. No, they got something that's called mix. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but it's something like that. What is? Do y'all know?
Mulatto.
Huh?
Mulatto.
No, they don't use that terminology. I think they call it mix or something. The census used this, but it's another category. So we got maybe 10 million people who are of African descent in America who are not claiming to be African. And when they do the Brazil census, everybody who's mixed or whatever is put in that census. So since they have this large number of Africans, I'm like, well, what are they doing there? Let me go and talk to some folks. And I've always been there was a movie that I saw way back in the late 80s called Quilombo. And it talks about Zumbi, Ganga Zumba, and Zumbi, and the capoeira, and you see all that. So that's one of my favorite movies. And so I've been always looking up and studying what's going on in Brazil. So when I go there, the last time, not this time, but the time before that, I went up into the mountains with the Shango priest. There's more people practicing Ifa in Brazil than there is in Nigeria, where it comes from. And the Yoruba community. The Yoruba community is extremely large in Brazil. It's mixed with, it's like Kundalini, it's mixed with Christianity so that it could survive, but it has both. So you have some of the original priests who still do ceremonies just like it was in Africa 300 and 400 years ago, still preserved in and one of our tours this time, we stopped at one of the Yoruba temples, and the Queen Mother welcomed our whole group. And while we were there, one of the most famous musicians in all of Brazil came in and played for us. It was like a super trip. But we visited several temples dealing with traditional African religion, and we dealt with some historians, quilombos. These are free towns that liberated themselves. I know we like to say that Haiti is the first liberated Black nation, or territory in the Western Hemisphere. And that's 1800. In Brazil, Gunga Zumba kicked the Portuguese butt in 1495.
Wow.
And formed a free town, Quilombo, which is, there was a whole lot of free towns, but Palmares was the most famous. Gunga Zumba, and then Zumbi, right, of Palmares. So now this year was the first national holiday of Zumbi of Palmares. People have been celebrating it for 20, 30 years, but it was like just a group, presenting it, and people would come. But this year was the first. That's why I wanted to make sure our group went during that time. It's November 20th of every year.
Right. And speaking of that group, we see Dr. LaRoche is in the building. Shout out to Dr. LaRoche. I understand he was a part of that, pilgrimage or excursion to Brazil. But I just wanted to just clarify a couple of things. So Gunga Zumbi and Zumbi of Palmares is different people?
Yeah, Gunga Zumbi was one of the first kings of Palmares. He took over when Kichalini, who was the spiritual king, and Gunga Zumba was a son of a African king, and who was enslaved, and then he became their first real king, of Palmares.
Right. If you want to put that picture up,
Kichalini, there were other African leaders who had already formed the nation, the Quilombo. But when Gunga Zumba came, he came organization to it and became the king and made it powerful, made it the largest Quilombo in South America. And Zumbi became the next king. And during those two, Palmares was free for over 100 years from Portuguese rule.
And we're talking the late 1400s?
Yeah, we're talking about 1500s now, yeah.
1500s?
Yeah, late 1500s.
Okay, so in terms of the more recognizable or the festival itself, is it the festival of Zumbi Palmares or Gunga Zumbi? What's the festival of?
No, well, we have to talk about Gunga Zumbi because he's the one that made Zumbi allowed Zumbi to become the next king. But
right.
So Zumbi is one of the most celebrated. Well, he was their general of war. So even when Gunga Zumba was the king, Zumbi was their general that took them into battle. And at the end, when Gunga Zumba died, then Zumbi became king. So we kind of do them. They call it Zumbi of Palmares, but it's Gunga Zumba and Zumba. You got to give both of them credit. It's like the father and the son. Zumbi was actually born in South America at the trek going to Palmares. So his mother, he was raised there as a child, and then he was stolen by the Portuguese and raised by a priest. And then Zumbi ran away and came back, and they celebrated his return. And then he was re-educated, and then later became their greatest warrior and king.
Yeah, so that actually brings me to one of my questions I wanted to ask about that. Why is he considered one of Brazil's greatest resistance leaders?
Because he was never defeated in battle. Only at the end when his death, because he got betrayed. You know, it sounded like the Last Supper when they betrayed Jesus, you know. He got betrayed, you know, by some his generals inside, and he has split up his army. But when he went out to do battle, he was never defeated. Never defeated. He beat the Portuguese at their own game every place he went. And if you really study the history, only because Zumbi kind of believed in Ma'at is the only reason why Portuguese was able to regroup and come back. So sometimes our kindness and weakness can be a double-edged sword, can also be the sword that kills you. Because on one of his last battles, he had defeated the Portuguese so bad they didn't have a military no more. They had to go send back to Portugal, to Europe, to bring reinforcements. He could have decimated the whole town and killed all the Europeans, but he chose not to. He wanted to go back to Palmares and regroup. And he looked at this as a time for healing, as opposed to just killing all the Portuguese. And unfortunately, that gave them time to regroup. And then they sent mercenaries from everywhere in Europe to come to get rid of Zumbi. They sent like 1,000 troops to get rid of Zumbi.
Wow. You know, I think about that so often. I think it's something you've said many times before, and I'm going to misquote you here, and I apologize. Is either are you eating or getting eaten? Something about being on the table and something like that. And it seems like that's something that compassion.
Yes.
What you say, Felicia?
It's something about being the fox's dinner or something like that.
It sounds like that, right? He says these things, and you know, we look through our history, we have these periods where, you know, our you know, just being who we are seems like it's kind of a double-edged sword in a sense.
Yeah.
And you know, wasn't anything about
accident. Have to look at that in the future as we do battle. See, what happens is that sometimes you know how they say everything is fair in war and love, okay?
Right.
We have to understand when we're at war, you need to finish it. And sometimes you need to have other generals there who can make that decision, as opposed to like somebody with a kind heart, you know, who's sympathetic and a people person. And then after the war is over, then it goes back to the people, you know, so that you can heal. But during the time of war, you need to, you know, it's like getting a guy on the ropes, and instead of knocking him out, you hurt him really bad. He took the count of 8, and then you let him get his self back together. And then him and his boys jump you and kill you after that.
Well, you know what? And Mfundishi, I have a question about that, because you said that Zumbi was practicing Ma'at.
Yeah,
so
at the end, yeah, he, as opposed to totally finishing him off after he had whipped him and just killing all of them and decimating their headquarters and everything, he said, no, let's retreat and go back to Palmares so we can heal. So we can heal and regroup. And, you know, and that's being out on the battlefield for 5-10 years in a row without coming home, you know, just war. So he was like, you're just war, what is it? War worried, or I'm getting the word out, but, you know, he just needed to regroup. But he had the ability to totally destroy the Portuguese.
So you said he was betrayed. How was he betrayed?
Oh, Uncle Tom's.
And it's always the case.
Yeah, you know, inside, you know, people who were working for the Portuguese who were double agents, you know, like that, you know, telling them, you know, where his weakness was. You know, Zumbi had his agents and the Portuguese had their agents. So Zumbi knew that they had cannons and stuff like that. So he knew how to lay traps for them and all of that. But then they let people know what Zumbi's weaknesses was, you know, and what time to attack Zumbi and stuff like that, you know. Like, you know, the final battle, the movie shows it at the final battle at nighttime, they took a nap. They took a nap to get ready for the battle the next day. The Portuguese didn't take no nap. They worked all night getting closer and closer and closer. So when the smog fog lifted in the morning, they were right there at Zumbi's door where they could use their cannons.
Wow.
And see if Zumbi, and they knew that already from their scouts. They already had a report and everything. They knew just how. So the Portuguese, ruthless, and they let Zumbi know. Like, there was a time just before the last battle, the head of the Portuguese military, who was a mercenary, I can't think of his name, Juarez, in order to show that he was the general for the Portuguese, to prove to them that he could do the job of killing Zumbi, he killed 50,000 Indians, Native Americans in South America, because, they were cleansing the land. You still had where Colombia is and all that. Right? He killed 50,000 and then cut their heads off. And he brought that as collateral to show that he could do the job. Can you imagine somebody coming up your doorstep with thousands of heads and drop them out there saying, I can kill Zumbi? Look, so that was his resume. His resume was thousands of Native American heads. And so he was ruthless. And just before the last battle, he said, Zumbi, I want you to see, because Palmares had a wall around it. So they had a lookout post from the top of the wall. He said, Zumbi, I want you to see what's in store for you. And he lined up all his black slaves who carried their cargo, their ammunition, and all of that up to Zumbi's fort. He lined them all up and shot them right in front of Zumbi. Pow, and killed all his blacks that was part of his group. And he said, this is what's waiting for you, Zumbi. And then on top of that, Zumbi still took a nap.
One of the things that we can't leave out is when I say the Africans that fought back in Brazil, their methodology of fighting. Can you speak on how they were fighting? What were they using? What skill sets did they have?
Yeah, well, today we call it capoeira. Capoeira Angola, because a lot of the slaves who were brought to Africa came from Angola, Western Africa. And Angola is one of the largest countries in physically, land-wise, outside of Sudan on the African continent. So a lot of Africans were brought from that central western part of Africa to there. And so you can see in the picture here, they're practicing capoeira. So the music was created in Africa and brought in, and they took an empty gourd and put it like on a bowstring and played. The songs that they're doing is in Portuguese right now, but originally they would have been in some African language. And it was disguised as a dance. But the disguise more as a dance came later. In the original form, they were training as martial artists. Like we would be training and people Kupagani and Gumi or Kung Fu or karate. Originally, they were training like that. And they would do it as a dance to make it fun for everybody so that they can start the little kids starting out. So they would do this, they would sing and dance. And this was a daily exercise. And today, this was taken at the Zumbi Festival. There was over 100 capoeira schools there.
Wow.
So if we got any capoeira lovers in the house, you want to come to this. There was over 100 schools. Every school formed a little circle like you see here. And they had this thing going on all day. So if you like to fight, you come to the Zumbi Festival, you can fight all day. You just walk by and look in the circle. They'd be like, come on in. Come on in. You can get some of this.
So Bob, I just want to just touch on one thing. This connection, this cross-Atlantic Ocean connection with the martial arts, with the arts. You said capoeira Angola.
Yes.
So these are people who have taken this skill set from the continent.
Africa, right. This was done. They didn't call it capoeira, but the African fighting system here comes from Angola. These, like I said, a large number of Africans who were enslaved came from here. And so they brought their fighting style with them. which eventually was called capoeira. I don't speak Portuguese, so I don't know I don't know what capoeira translates into. So the foundation, and then it was just embellished in Brazil. So it's the national sport. It's the national sport of Brazil, capoeira.
Right. I understand. Also, Dr. Brittany Motley was on the tour with you. I believe she was a student of capoeira.
Yes, I think Brittany knows some capoeira. I think she's taken even capoeira. Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to kind of bring her on? She's backstage, and kind of have her kind of expound on her experience in Brazil and what was that like. Peace, Brittany. How are you?
Greetings. I'm well. How are you all?
Okay. So we're here talking about this fantastic experience you guys had in Brazil, and we want to just kind of just get your take on what was it like to experience these capoeira circles.
Oh yes, capoeira. It's a few things I want to double click on that Mfundishi brought out. But for one, I went on this trip just because I wanted to check on how are the Africans doing in the diaspora. You know, what gods do you worship? What do you eat? You know, what have you taken from this journey, and how is it similar to us? You know, the Africans who landed in America, and it's fascinating with capoeira being one of those. And so I do play capoeira. I'm a green belt, so I'm not. You know, that means I'm a novice. I'm not a black belt out here, but I'm a green belt in capoeira, and it's beautiful because when you learn it from a historical aspect, from a spiritual aspect, and from the martial art self-discipline aspect. So the first move that you're taught is called a jinga, and it's where you move. You start with both of your feet kind of shoulder width apart, and you move like one leg back to where you're making like a triangle in the ground, and you're doing this like rocking move. And the whole point of it is to generate ashe from the ground. So it's basically to kind of tap on the ancestors and to say, come help me fight. And so, you know, capoeira, no martial artists from Africa fought without the ancestors, you know, without some kind of strong spiritual backing. You know, they had to have their head covered with an orisha or something of that sort. And so I think it's so beautiful that, you know, it had this kind of grounded spiritual discipline. And then you're also learning the language of Portuguese, you know, when you count, but you're learning the history of Africa and Angola movements. Angola is one type of capoeira. There's another one that's a bit faster, but Angola is real intentional. You know, you move in a lot of like animal movements that's similar to what Mfundishi teaches, you know, in Kupa and Gami and Gumi. And so you know, you kind of like, you're real kind of in tune with the energy of nature and the other person that you're playing with and all of that. And so it's a beautiful thing. But also on the part of how this was disguised, I think it's beautiful watching kind of the children of the diaspora and how we preserve the culture through like disguise. And so that's where the dance came from. It was, okay, I'm on this sugar plantation and I want to practice these moves, but we have to look like we're just playing. You know, we can't look like we're really intentional. And so let me, you know, kind of make this look this way. And actually the berimbau, which is that tool they're using, this is actually a weapon, but I'm going to make it look like a musical instrument. You know, I'm going to put a little string on here and make some sounds. So you don't see this as a threat while we're doing all of this kind of organizing on the back end. So I think capoeira is just really beautiful.
Wow, that the triangle on the ground is amazing. Calling the ancestors to help you fight is also that's an amazing aspect.
So smart. We're so dope. Like literally, just from like
y'all have to put this in perspective. Now, when the Portuguese came across these soldiers, and you got into hand-to-hand combat, they didn't know what was going on. Feet, they getting kicked in the head, people flipping, sweeping them on the ground. They nice. Totally caught, you know, with their pants down when they came in and came in physical contact with the African warriors. It was like no contest. If they didn't shoot you from 50 meters out, then you got your stuff handed to you.
You know, as we look at this and, you know, we tie it back into the continent, before we move into the continent, really get into the origins of this fighting form, one of the things we want to figure out, I guess, ask is what lessons can be drawn from the quilombos for modern day struggle for liberation and self-determination. And I think that's really a key thing. These free, Black towns that they had at that time. What can we, in this modern day, in today's age, what can we take from that?
Their attitude was almost freedom or death.
Mm.
So you have to say Malcolm used to that, and Malcolm got that from that. Freedom or death, no compromise. Freedom or death. So they were willing to set up their own, risk being killed to form their own free town, and then die fighting for it. So that's the key. If you can be compromised, then you're still enslaved.
That's real.
Yeah.
I think one thing I saw about the quilombos was we get community wrong. We think community means groupthink. It means a cult. We think community means everybody is a clone of each other, and this is how we get peace and harmony. But what you saw in the quilombos was like tribalism. So everybody was in the quilombos. It was like 20,000 people up in these mountains who escaped from these plantations, right? But they still had their own tribe. So they were one, Palmares was one community, and they had one shared value that Mfundishi called out. We want freedom and we want peace, but we're going to express this individually, authentically, with our uniqueness. This quilombo is going to have their own colors, their own way of doing things, their own, this quilombo is going to have this. So they had this beautiful, like, tribalism aspect within community, or maybe it was like individualism within kind of the collective that allowed people to be authentic, to operate in their unique purposes. And it wasn't kind of this groupthink kind of cultish, atmosphere. So I think we can learn a lot about community from studying the quilombos. And it's like, that's how they vibed very well. They allowed that individuality within the collective.
Right. And you'll see that in the movie. You had the different generals. I tell you, if you study ancient Persia, when they were at their height, one of the greatest nations in the world after they conquered Egypt, after 640, what made the Persian army so powerful is they did just what Brittany was talking about. They would conquer you and then allow you to keep autonomy within you just pay tribute to the Persian king. But I'm gonna allow you to keep your own language. You're gonna have your own food, and you can even have your own generals there. But you all work for us when it's time for battle. And so, that's what happened when the Persian army came at you. They had maybe 10 ethnic groups fighting for Persia against you. And so I call it operational unity. And they utilize this.
So, this previous question, we talked about using methods of the past and incorporating into who we are today and looking at their effectiveness. And understand, with that, understand that you have a Metal Nature class coming up soon. And I just want to understand, like, when we think about Metal Nature, we think about a language that's been around for countless time. And how do we use existence? Yes, right? How do we use that from then to apply it to our lives now? What are the benefits in it for us today?
I just want to just backtrack just 1 second to form a picture here as I answer that question. In 1980, I was a national champion and won the Kumite in China as their best martial artist for the Shaolin Temple. So I got a free trip to China. I got a chance to go to Hunan. I went to the Shaolin temples. I visited with the warriors. And to travel around, they sent this young boy. He must have been about maybe 20 years old. He was my guide. So he was a grandmaster, like a master like myself.
How old were you at the time?
Not in the center, right? And every place we went, everybody bowed down to this young boy. Not because he could whoop everybody, because he represents the culture. He was a cultural custodian of the Chinese people.
I like that, cultural custodian.
So I just wanted to say that. So it wasn't like, because I was whipping him in practice, even though he knew 80 forms, when it came time to just thump, I was spanking his butt. But So we're in front of the Shaolin Temple. We're in Hunan. And then I'm looking at the wall and I see all these black people on the wall teaching the Chinese. So I said, we don't see this in America. And the headmaster looked me right in my eyes and he said, I'm Chinese. I teach Chinese culture. You African, you teach African culture. And he didn't have to say it twice. A light went off. That's when we went back and formed the Kupagani Federation. That was like 1980. That was 1980, So I was kung fu down, at that point. But at that point, I came back, went back to Africa, started learning the African martial arts on the continent from masters, got with other African practitioners here. And by 1983, we had formed the Federation,
So that's one of the questions I actually wanted to ask you. How many different forms of martial arts are you a master in, or you studied? Let's just say you studied.
Okay, Bando. I started out in Bando, Burmese boxing. That's like Muay Thai kickboxing. Okay, so I started out with that, and then all the way through I went to college. Then after I got out of college, I lost contact with them, so I started with Kung Fu. And
what form of Kung Fu?
Huh?
What type of Kung Fu?
Huh? Yeah, so I became a 7th degree black belt, and then when in China they made me an 8th degree master in Kung Fu. But in 1983, when we formed the Federation, Mfundishi Maasi promoted me to Malanga. That was a master in the African martial arts. So I was already a master in Kung Fu, so he made me a master in the African martial arts. And then,
any forms of karate or taekwondo, anything?
No, I never liked that. All that screaming and breaking boards. You remember Bruce Lee said, "Boards don't hit down." And screaming ain't helping you win no matches. So, like even like the capoeira. See, that has some rhythm, some dance. Somehow the Kung Fu was the closest to that, and I did the animal forms in Kung Fu. So the animal forms in Kupagani and Gumi was a very easy transition. I want to just thank the Chinese for help preserving some of the stuff for us. They became custodians of an art we showed them. So just 3 arts: Bando, Kung Fu, and then Kupagani and Gumi.
Right. Okay.
I do have to say though, as a grappler, I was a national wrestling champion in high school and college. So that helped, and while I was in college, I took judo because they used to practice on the wrestling mats. So after we did wrestling practice, they would go change. I kept my stuff on, and then I did judo with the guys, but I never got any rank. I just was whipping them,
Wow.
So
that's why at 75, you can walk up and down in the pyramids with nothing. It's just like, just getting it in. That's what's up.
So now going back to your question about the Badu Netcha. The Badu culture is the first thing, your language and your culture is the first thing your enemy takes from you. And so that needs to be one of the first things we try to bring back. And so since Badu Netcha is our classical language, y'all, it's our classical language. Not Swahili is one of the most widely spoken languages on the African continent. But let me just say this here. If you speak Swahili, it's not going to help liberate your mind. You just be a crazy African speaking Swahili. Okay? I'm just saying, you speak Yoruba. Yoruba is not going to liberate your consciousness. You just be a crazy person speaking Yoruba, Fulani, or any other African languages. Badu Netcha has such a spiritual base and connected to nature that it enhances your whole understanding of the world. So even as you're learning these symbols, you learn the animals, you learn the insects, you learn what are their purpose, what do they do, why are they there, how does that help us? And I was teaching Ashanti Tree to Badu Netcha in Ghana, and I found out that a lot of the people who understood, who spoke Tree, Ashanti Tree, didn't know the origins of why the words meant what they did. Until they started learning Badu Netcha, the Badu Netcha helped them understand their own language even more. And I always give this example, the word abroni. a Brony and Ashanti tree, they think it means white man or it means stranger. So if you come there acting funky, they go, oh, you a Brony. You know, and that's like a total insult to call another African American a Brony. That would be like somebody calling you a white boy in disguise, you know. So you totally insulted. But that's because that's the way you acting. But the real word means destroyer. Not only are you a stranger, you are a destroyer of the culture. You're an enemy of the people, enemy of nature. So Madu Netra is so precise like that it tells you why a word is the way it is. It tells you why Kepper, the dung beetle, means to come into being. It tells you why Haru means higher consciousness. You know, when you start understanding these things. So if you really want to understand African culture, Madu Netra, and Madu Netra, we finding out, is a Bantu language. It's not Afro-Asiatic. It's a Bantu language. So that's the original like people language in Central Africa, all of it. So if you spoke Wolof, Mandinga, Yoruba, Swahili, any of those languages, Madu Netra words are those languages house still Madu Netra words, still with the same meaning almost. So people, if you really want to connect with the African, plus how you going to understand Egypt when the culture is based through the Madu Netra and you don't know Madu Netra? That means you got to take your enemy's word for what your ancestors wrote. And you're taking your enemy's word for your history of your ancestors. That's stupid. That would be, that, you know, I can't even give a parallel. I don't even know any other. That would be like rabbits going to the fox to learn his history. And the fox would be glad to teach the rabbits. Come on in this hole here. Come on in this den. I make you a PhD in rabbithood, okay? And any rabbits that are glorified by the wolf, you know that's an Uncle Tom rabbit, okay?
That's an Uncle Tom rabbit.
So I hope I painted a good picture here that the Madu Netra is one of the only languages that can save us. Other languages can help you with understand some things in the culture, but then you're still outside of nature because the whole African continent has been colonized.
So let's talk about the when and wheres. So when is the class and where to be held?
Well, the class starts next week, next Sunday. We have the Madu Netra 1, Master Class 1, starts on Sunday at 8 o'clock. And if you're in an intermediate or more advanced class, that's on Monday night at 8 o'clock. So those are the classes. And then my Menchu Hotep in the Spirit of the Magi goes into more of the culture. Remember, culture is your medicine.
But before you get into that, I just want you to kind of talk a little bit more about the class. Like how many lessons is it? You know.
Yeah. Okay, it's
details.
12 weeks. Each class is 11, 12 weeks. And we go through so that by the end of the first class, you'll be able to know the foundation of Madu Netra. You'll be able to speak you'll know the greetings. You'll know how to do homage to the ancestors. And you'll be able to identify, like you'll know the whole alphabet, bilittles and triliters, so that you can at least recognize the writings up on the wall, you know. And you'll be able to read the Shin at the end of the first class, the first semester.
Okay. A Shin. Okay, thank you. I was about to say, Mfundishi, that's a lot. Like you're just like glossing over this. Like that.
Yes, the king's names. When we say there's 4 ways to answer, 4 ways to honor your ancestors by speaking their name the way they speak it. Mm-hmm. So if you're talking about Ramses II, he don't know who you're talking about. That if you're talking about King Tut, he don't know who you're talking about. You got to say their names the way they spoke them. So we teach you how to read the Shin, not a cartouche. That's French. You don't need to learn French to learn Madu Netra. Okay. Mm. You don't need to learn another European language to understand our language. Okay, you can go straight to our language. So yes, you'll be able to read the names of the rulers. You'll be able to do simple sentences. And by the time you get to the intermediate class, you can start reading sentences and start reading the funerary text. See, there's four major texts. You have the pyramid text, which was the old period. Then you got the coffin text, which was the middle period. And then you got the Pert Im Haru, which is the late period, like from 18th dynasty on, like that. And then you have a couple of other texts that teach you about morality and values and stuff of that nature. So you need to read this for yourself. Like, for example, here's one more example. The 42 Oracles of Ma'at. So people will say, well, the 10 Commandments and the HAPI codes, they all borrowed from this. So I want you to be able to go back and read it for yourself. Here's some codes of honor that's 4,000 years old, 2,000 years before Christianity came into existence. And then when you read the text, you'll find out that they abbreviated it and it don't even say what they said. It don't say, thou shalt not kill. It basically says, thou shalt never take a life without a just cause. That's a big difference.
That's a huge difference. That's a huge difference.
You know, and that's the type of thing where you just abbreviate it, and then theirs is a commandment. Ours is an affirmation. You're saying, I will not steal. I will not. You bet not steal. You bet not do this. You bet. So it's a difference from a commandment to an affirmation. Okay, so now you're learning, and now you're speaking like an African instead of speaking like a European who learned some African stuff, and now I'm shooting it back to you in my own culture.
So
language is exciting, y'all. You can't do enough. Once you start, you can't put them and do let you down, and you realize that almost everything that you've been taught is either wrong or upside down, inside out, and backwards. So don't throw it away. You just got to be able to reorientate it.
Okay.
They stole our stuff from their government to their laws. They've taken our stuff and used it in their culture.
Well, you know what? I was going to add to that, what you're talking about when you just said, I mean, and you've said this a couple of times when you've talked about this, and maybe I'm just hearing it different now when you talk about affirmations, because now, like in the metaphysics world, everything is about affirmations. Yes. You know, and you know, no one ever says affirmation is, you know, linked to Africans. you know, even Black folks don't know that, you know, and so that's wow.
And that's where you're learning that from. That's because you're getting affirmations outside of Africa. You're learning it from like Buddhism. So where did Buddha learn his stuff from? This is all African.
Absolutely.
You know, you learn the beginning of the Indian culture, Dravidian. It's all African.
So we got the win. Where's the classes held?
The classes is online, or they can come into the center here. I gave you the address of 504 West 125th Street at our museum here. So they can actually come if they live within the vicinity here. I don't know if Brother Wally and a couple other people might be listening now. They used to come into the class here and take the class right here. Or you can just take it online. I have Brother Donald, who is the curator of the museum here. He lives upstairs. He takes the class online. But sometimes people just like that idea of being in their own living room taking the class.
You know, I'll say this, and I've taken the class several times. First thing is it's an honor, it's a privilege to utilize the technology for people who are not in the New York City area and who can be just anywhere around the world and take this class. Right. So that's awesome. But there's nothing like being there in person, because there's always conversations and things afterwards that people can definitely take advantage of or just be a part of. But you know, definitely. So I got information up here about the class. So family, please take this opportunity. You definitely want to sign up for the Metal Nature class. And like Mfundishi said, the first thing they take from us is our language and our culture. We definitely want to be a part of this. I'm a living testament to the the richness of the class and everything we do in HAPI, standing on the foundation of, the things that we learned in the middle lecture classes.
And let me say this, you just be a quasi studier of Egypt if you don't speak to Medu Neter. Because you're always going to be on the outside looking in, and you have to depend upon your enemy to tell you your story. So, and it's unfortunate, many of our scholars are talking about ancient Egypt and they don't read no Medu Neter. So they have to regurgitate what the Europeans told them to say.
Right. So with that, we're going to just take a quick commercial break. I want to give a shout out to Renee Watkins for the super chat. Thank you so much, Renee, for your donations. And family, if you have the opportunity, please get at us on the Cash App or the super chat as well. Cash App right there, $ HAPI Film, or the PayPal's icadtours@aol.com. Definitely thank you for the support. It goes a long way. We also earlier we were talking about the newsletter and just being a part of it and extending it out to people who have the opportunity to be a part of it and get their message, their word, their business, their thoughts out to the family and the community. So definitely we want to just let people know that this is something that's available to you guys. Our most recent newsletter, we put a little blurb in there for those people who want to advertise in it, to take that opportunity to do such. Felicia, you got anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, you know what, I wanted Mfundishi to just kind of talk about it for a minute, because in terms of like what we're trying to do with the community, Mfundishi Jhutyms has been very supportive of us, and he's been like one of our main people who have advertised with us. Can you talk a little bit about that and how it's helped you, or not? But I think it has.
We want to be able to tell the people that they can take advantage of the newsletter that HAPI already has. So they're reaching 4,000 plus people. And so when you're advertising that's something maybe outside of your immediate circle. 5,000. Okay. So they reach outside of that. So if you got to go outside of your circle if you want to be effective. Right, so by advertising with HAPI and supporting HAPI, you're going outside of your circle. So your circle knows, and people outside of your circle knows. And the idea, when you tell people to subscribe, that means that they're going to reach people that HAPI would never normally be able to reach. And so, that's why you want to tell people to subscribe and tell your friends to subscribe so they can stay on top of what's going on. It's a movement. It's not just a group,
Right. And as I'm listening to this conversation, one of the things that's going on in my mind is the quilombo. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly.
Yeah,
my apologies, but we have an opportunity here with the newsletter and other things that we're doing to formulate our own current day quilombo. And I think it's very important that we take this opportunity, say bulls by the horn, and do that. And like I said, if you don't have a business, you have just a thought or something you want to, something you were thinking about, some intellectual discussions you may be having. Brother Dennis Broadwright, brilliant brother from Detroit, has contributed several times in his articles in the newsletter. So we want to open it up to the family. Like I said, your businesses, we've been doing things with businesses for since the inception of the newsletter, about 4.5 years. But we want to expand it because we were doing this kind of just shout out to the Black business thing. But we're going to expand it to those who, haven't had the opportunity to win the lottery, so to speak, and say, hey, I'm interested. Let me get down with it. But again, a shout out to Renee Watkins. Thank you so much for your love and your support. And for those, again, who are interested, they can go to super chats and the cash apps. So as we look into just getting back into the Africans from Egypt to Brazil, the Africans who weren't having it and fought back, we talked about the resistance fighters in Brazil. Now we want to kind of move into Egypt and another part of your experience 3 times last year. I don't think I've been to Kemet 3 times in a long time in 1 year. But I don't think I even want to do that. But I'll say this. So you had the opportunity, or most recently, I know you've been there also in the past, to visit Mahez or Beni Hassan. And there are records of Africans It almost look like they're doing capoeira because they're so acrobatic with the images on the wall. You just want to get into this fighting spirit of Africans, and particularly that period.
So to do that justice, we got to talk about Mentuhotep.
Yes,
Mentuhotep is the one that founded that.
Okay.
People are not giving Mentuhotep his credit. Even African scholars, like even when you go to Egypt, what is one of the cities that you admire the most in terms of its temples and stuff like that? It's probably Luxor, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Mentuhotep founded that temple of Amenhotep, dedicated to Amen-Ra. I need people to understand that. Mentuhotep is the first one to set up the Holy of Holies and the temple to Amen-Ra in the middle period, 2000 BCE. Well, a little before 2000 BCE, because he died around 2000 BCE. So I just, I can't get enough of Mentuhotep. So when we talk about my class, I'll be able to get in there.
But, so let's get into the period right before Mentuhotep and what made him so significant.
Okay, the period just before Mentuhotep is called the first intermediate period. What happened? HAPI is the last king, Nusut-Biti, of ancient Kemet, and he ruled for 95 years. He was like 100 and something. He came on the throne at 6 and ruled for 95 years. So he was senile towards the end of his rule. And there was anarchy. His wife took over, and he had other lords beckoning for power. And so eventually the HAPI River wasn't overflowing at the level that it had been. So the central government couldn't feed all the people, and things broke down, and we had some turmoil. Warlords or particular chiefs in particular areas of Kemet broke away and became individual leaders of their own town. And so there was one time where I think they had 40-something kings within a week. I'm the king. No, you're not. I'm the king. No, you're not. So there's this fight going on. And so there was total turmoil. So you had a breakdown in the government. I want people to be clear what was going on. So the government can't feed the people. The Nile is not flowing. The granaries is gone. You no longer have a standing army or military. And then you got these warlords. No one is stopping the borders, controlling the borders anymore. So you got Asiatics flocking. Because you understand, Kemet has always been the breadbasket of Eurasia. Whenever they had problems, everybody flees to Kemet. And so you got all of these people coming into Kemet with no check. So now you have a turmoil. You got all these different leaders and different provinces. Finally, you got a king that takes control of the south. The north. Mentuhotep's family are ruling from the south. So they're coming from Sudan, what we call ancient Kush. And they form their capital at we would call today Luxor, Karnak. That this area here, this Luxor, that was their capital, and Amen was the local deity there, but it was a small local deity during the ancient time at the first golden age. Amen existed during the first golden age, but it was just a local little place in one little town. When Mentuhotep, when his father, his grandfather, and his uncle all ruled before him, blew Amen up higher. So when Mentuhotep became the ruler, he made Amen the national deity for the whole country. And so when they defeated the north, that's when Amen became the high deity for everything. So I'm just trying to give just a little background here, like that temple here. Now, when the War of Liberation, all those warriors who were killed fighting against the north in the Asiatic invasions, Mentuhotep created special burial ground to bury all of these people fighting for the liberation of Kemet. All his generals and warriors and commanders, governors who died during that time period, who was involved in that war, he had a special place, what we call Mahez, And Mahez today is what we call Beni Hassan. And Mahez is where those people, they dug their graves inside of the mountains.
Felicia, we got a shot of the outside of the tombs.
Say that again.
No, I was asking Felicia to put up a shot of the outside of the tombs so people can see what you're talking about.
Right.
And then once
this is a mountain range, and it's kind of like a plateau towards the top, flat, but it's a big mountain range. And so Mentuhotep chose, this was the area was called Mahez. So if you go up those steps, you'll see the mountain. You'll see that's the bottom of the mountain there, and you'll see up to the top is where they dug holes inside of the mountain and made the tombs inside of the mountain.
Right.
Some of them as large as half of a football field, like 50 meters by 50 meters. Can you imagine digging that room in that and then painting the inside, just like the tombs at the Valley of the Kings? And by the way, the Valley of the Kings and all of that was also started by Mentuhotep. He is the one that brought that, because Saqqara was being robbed too easily out in the open. And so he created the whole Valley of the Kings situation so that it wouldn't be easy accessible. So the same thing with the mountains. Just going up into those mountains, that's not easy accessible. People are not playing around the top of the mountain. Okay. So you got to go out your way to go up there. So it was easy to guard and easy to protect.
Right.
So they drilled the holes into the mountains, created the rooms and the tombs.
Right.
And Felicia will tell you, it will take your breath away. You see the martial arts scenes. You see grappling, wrestling, sword fighting, stick fighting. You see the whole cultural phenomena up there. So you begin to see the culture. But I tell you what blew me away.
That's a better shot.
No, I need the shot of the outside of the tombs, not the steps.
Yeah, so y'all can see
that.
So
you can just pull back and see the whole entire mountain.
So now you can see the mountain.
I'm going to show you those too.
So that's where he chose to bury his generals and his warriors and people who died in the liberation of ancient Kemet. He wanted a special place for them. He just wanted just a hole in the ground. I want a special place for my warriors. So this is the first national, I guess, what's the word? I don't want to say cemetery, but I guess that's the only word I can use now. But the first national cemetery dedicated just to the warriors. So, your moms couldn't be buried in there with you. She had to go someplace else. Okay. This is just for the, now this moms was the warrior, the general. Okay. But this was just for the generals and the warriors. So
just so we don't lose sight of this, because I'm seeing parallels here between Gonga Zumbi and Entef or Mentuhotep the First, and kind of what occurred. And just family, just so you know, each of those doors there is an entrance to one of the tombs.
Yes.
And it stretches all the way down to the side of the mountain.
Right.
So those are just 3, actually we can count 4 right there.
Yeah. So there's actually 30, 40, 50, 60 all the way around. And then there's little minor tombs where you might not have been a general, but you died there and you still got a little tomb. So they had hundreds.
Right.
You can see the little hole. There's hundreds of places where other people were buried who weren't generals or commanders. They didn't get the big rooms. But they got respect. They still got buried up there.
Right.
Now you see the doorway. You walk through that little door, and then you open up to this giant room.
We're about to show those pictures in a second, but before we get into that, I just want to just really people understand the spirit of resistance, how it existed here and there. These are people who were fighting for their liberation, fighting for their security and their safety during that period. We're talking over 4,000 years ago, about 2000 BC in that sense. And now we have a situation, not maybe 1,500 years later with the situation with the Colombos in Brazil, but just the spirit of continuously fighting back and not laying down. And because I think sometimes we kind of get caught in that, but even if you're not a physical fighter per se, there's so many things that we can do in our community and liberators. And I just don't want to lose sight of the fact that this is a spirit that we've continued throughout history, and we have to continue fighting.
And
So
that whole idea of freedom or death, that was Mentuhotep's attitude when he went in, because the king of the South tried to make a deal with Mentuhotep. He said, listen.
The king of the North.
Huh?
The king of the North.
The king of the North. He said, listen, if you would just reach back, I'll let you be the king of the South, and I'll let you have your own autonomy, and just allow us to trade, to go past you for trade and stuff like that. But and he was like, no, we taking the whole joint. We're putting you out,
Right.
We put you out. You ain't gonna allow us. You're saying that if we cow down to you, you allow us to stay up here in our own homeland. No, we don't need permission for that. We're gonna do that anyway, So
we want to see
was die or fight for freedom, and that was Mentuhotep's attitude when at the end of the first intermediate period to form the second golden age.
Sound like Malcolm X.
Yes. In fact, Malcolm got his statement from that. Freedom or death. And Malcolm said, you only get your freedom when you let your enemy know you'll do anything to get your freedom. That the price of freedom is death.
So with that, we'd like to show how they were able to do that and show some of these beautiful friezes inside the tombs of the those brothers doing the martial arts.
Take this inside and show. So they saw the outside. You saw the mountain on the outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is just to get a sense of what, like, this is this is beautiful.
Look,
and it's huge.
That's like about 20, 30, 40 meters deep.
Yeah.
20 feet high. And look, those are columns. They didn't just put the columns in there. That was dug out like that. And the martial arts is all around the room. And then there's more social things on the bottom layer. Like you can still see them fishing. You still see them in boats, still doing trade and commerce. Okay. And then you see the warriors who are the protectors along the top. But Felicia, go back to that picture one more time.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to give you, so you see how little we look. That's how huge.
Another one. This one's a little smaller, but it's another one. But do y'all see where that wooden barrier is to the right? You can see that, right there. That's a shaft going down in the ground, 75 feet in the mountain. And then in this perfect square, a perfect square shaft, 75 feet going down. And then there's a groove, a room in there where they actually put the Sahu, the mummy, the body of this warrior. So his body wasn't placed in here. His body is placed 75 feet down in the ground and inside of a private room. But all of this is in the mountain, y'all. So now you can't get no bulldozers or cranes to drill that. Somebody did all that by hand. And it's a perfect square going down. So it messes your head. It's like, like you drop something down there like a pebble and you don't hear it land. So
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Do we have
you can
close
talk
up
about it, but you got to see it. It messes your head up and you say, oh, wow, they dug this down here inside of the mountain.
Yeah. It's, so this was so if you're looking in the tomb, it's over to the right.
Yes.
This
Look
piece
at this guy doing a headstand with no hands. That's like balancing on his head. You can see the beginning of yoga before India.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you get a close up of the fighters?
Yep. We're gonna here's one. I think we have this one. Okay.
And everybody's black. I just need to say that because they had pink paint. They had all the colors of paint. Everybody's depicted black. I need to put that out there.
And family, while we're waiting for the picture to come up, just please again like and share the video. And we're gonna.
Okay, wait, no.
Those guys are actually smelting iron or metals. If you read in the book Kupagani and Gumi, the Magi warriors had to make their own weapons so it'd be forged in the geometry of your personal body. You learn metallurgy and all of that. Again, you can see some of the warriors here. You see grappling, throws. I think in the center here, somebody look like they got you by the legs and the guy's upside down. Here's somebody getting thrown over somebody's shoulder. There's a tripping move on the second level. Grappling techniques.
Yeah. And, we have, so to say, kind of like a world premiere of something that happened in these tombs that it was real interesting because we were all filming it, but only one, like afterwards we came out, only one camera actually caught the whole entire thing. So I'm going to show this right here because, and everyone has been calling me that went on this trip that was sitting in the tombs with us. They say, "Oh, can you send me this video? Can you send me this video?" I was like, "Absolutely not." I was like, "No, we are going to show it here on HAPI Talks first." But this was really, and just to be with Baba in there, it was like it was a surreal moment, and it was just really nice to be able to share this with him. But I'm going to show you guys this video. It's never been seen outside of what we witnessed with our eyes. Okay. Tell you that's dope. Mfundishi was getting in. Did y'all hear the little? Did you listen when he did that? Because it was like looking at these, at these martial art movements and have been in Mfundishi's classes. And I was like, wow. And so just, we asked him just to do a little something. I thought he was just going to kind of do like maybe a little hand thing or something. But he was like, in full, and then just like the sound, it was just really, it was very beautiful for him to share that with us. But yeah, I can send you the video now, Mfundishi.
Okay.
So, with that, we saw you do it in real time, and it was literally, it was really interesting. It captured 4,000 years prior to you, right behind you.
Absolutely.
That's such an amazing thing when you think about it. But how has African combat knowledge been preserved and transformed over the time and throughout the diaspora? From the Nile Valley to Angola. How were we able really to do that?
Well, again, it's a relationship with nature. So I have to go back to that. Culture is your medicine. It's a relationship with nature. We look when man fights. You understand? For a long time, man was not on top of the food chain. Some of the cats, like the saber-toothed cat, the saber-toothed tiger, and all of them, they were on top of the food chain. Man was a snack for them. Mm. So we had to band together in groups to be able to fight them all. Think if you're fighting a cat, you can't even run up the tree because he can run up the tree after you. So climbing the tree is not going to escape, a lion or a panther. That's not going to get you away. Saber-toothed tiger, you run up a tree, he just eats you up the tree. That's all. So we had to learn weapons to be able to keep him off from us. And then we needed to imitate the fierceness of some of these animals who were great predators. So we started studying the way predators were studying. We saw the way the leopard sneaks up on you before he sprints out. So, we're imitating these things. We realize that once we grab it, you ever see the lion catches a deer in full stride. The lion has to trip him, tie him up. So that's like almost a grappling move. So we learned like a single leg takedown, double leg takedown, take your opponent's legs from under him. So we learned this from watching nature. Then the tiger or the lion goes straight to the jugular vein. He ain't trying to just bite you in the butt. or try to bite you in the stomach. No, he's going to clamp down and take your wind, take your breath away. He's going straight for your jugular vein. Sometimes he'll grab the mouth and shut and clamp the mouth shut, because animals breathe through they have to breathe. They don't breathe through their nose. They breathe through their mouth. So if he clamps and locks your jaws, you'll suffocate. And so we're imitating animals. And so if you look across to Asia, that was some of the same things. So if you look at the Shaolin movements, they're imitating the animals. If you look at some of the other Asiatic arts, to me, like most karate, and they're not imitating no animals. They trying to bust through. Okay, gorillas don't even fight like that, and they got 10 times the arm strength we got. So
what I love about this is you can see various forms of martial art.
Yes,
not just like jujitsu or karate or kung fu. There's like so many different things going on here. Like
if you follow, it will always be like a motion picture. It's like I grabbed you, I threw you down, I slammed you. So some of these movements are continuous. It's not like the whole move is in one, too.
And that's how they do movies. That's it.
Right. Just like a movie scene. Yes.
It's like a movie scene. Yeah.
If your eyes just kind of go along, you actually see a whole grappling technique.
Wow, now that's amazing too. Just looking at it from that perspective,
right?
Of it being kind of a continuous thought. So it's like class almost. It's like karate books. It's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4.
Right. That's what this is like. Yes.
Yes, and give you each step.
So you know how you start wrestling, how the two of y'all grab each other. Here you are, right there.
Wow. That's amazing.
So and technicality, there's no such thing as Greco-Roman wrestling. It was Nubian wrestling, and the Greeks and the Romans were imitating the Nubian. So Nubian wrestling precedes all of that.
Wow. So I know that you've been here many times, and Felicia, this was your first experience. You've been to Egypt countless times now, but this is your first experience in Beni Hassan or Mahez. What was it like for you going there?
Oh my God, I was so excited. You got to tell everybody the story about how this even came about.
So, I mean, we're just looking at, HAPI tours and taking people to the Nile has always been something that's been really very near and dear to me. We always want to do things kind of a little bit outside, a little bit different than some of your traditional tours. And that year we had the economic, I can't think of the full title, tour there where Mfundishi Jhutyms was there, Dr. Julian Malveaux.
Origins of the Civilization.
Yes, Origins of Civilization. There's a piece there about the economics, but it'll come to me. So great time, something very different. The HAPI tours are always different. This time around, I just really wanted to, Felicia asked some questions about some of the places that I've gone. And years ago, for me, I always wanted to, I was on a quest to see every pyramid in Africa. So, and the pyramid sites outside of the pyramid belt or outside of what I like to call the tourist sector. The Egyptians today, they purposely send you places and show you things that will perpetuate the lies and myths about, the Kemet or the ancient Egyptians. They'll show you, they purposely want to show you the Greco-Roman temples, Philae, Edfu, Dendar. These are the places they want you to see. They want you to see these things, and they don't want you to see things that is going to challenge the Hollywood perception of Kemet. When the HAPI tour comes in, we're going to show you places that's going to challenge the Hollywood Yul Brynner perceptions of ancient Kemet. So this particular excursion was put together with that in mind, and it visited 3 of the highlights of what they call Middle Egypt, Hawara, Meidum, and Beni Hassan or Mahez. So you guys, I know, had a remarkable experience there. And just definitely want to kind of just get into what that looked like for you guys, and what was the experience like, because I didn't go on this particular journey, but they went, I went many years ago, and definitely was a life-changing experience for me. And one of the beautiful things about these places also, there aren't any tourists there. You're there by yourself. You know, when you go to the more popular places, you're fighting with people, you know, figuratively speaking, to see, you know, your history. They're all around it, and there's so many people. Just it's so commercialized. It's like Disney World. When you
Yeah.
get to go to places.
Only one other group.
Yeah, there was only one other group. Yeah, and
and they were Asians, weren't they?
No, they were from I think they were from Peru or
Peru.
something.
Okay, well that's
or Spain. No, I think they were from Spain. But you know, it's interesting that you know that Taki tells a story because there's another side to the little story. He's showing these pictures, and I was like, "Oh my God, these are beautiful!" And he's like, "Oh yeah, blah blah blah." And I was like, "You've never told me about these places," and so I was kind of like, I'm just gonna, go there afterwards after we do our regular tour. And I'm just, I want to go like for myself to see it. It was just like the pictures were just breathtaking, and then just being able to see another side of a place, I go to, quite frequently. So I was like, this would be really cool. And so then I kind of told one person, I think I told maybe Waleed and I think I told Mfundishi. So then they're like, well, I want to go too. And next thing you know, we were like, okay, we just have to really open this up to everyone. And there was like 10 of us or 12
yeah.
or yeah,
like half of the group went.
Yeah, and we were rolling because we had to get up early, and the whole day we were out that hotel, we were on that bus, and we got there, and there was another group that was, everyone there knew that they just had to wait for us, and so, I think another piece I wanted to add is that, the traveling is really cool and seeing the places and all those things is nice, but it's also the people you go with because the people make the trip, and we're like instant family. It was it's such a cool way to just see how everyone is interpreting this place. Like I tell you, like even now I'm just thinking about, like my eyes are like watering, thinking about Mfundishi in this place and looking at all these martial arts, and like he's like a master at this, and like you said, Taki, this was like thousands of years ago, and then just seeing it all full circle, and then just having the opportunity to be able to do it, and then just thanking God, thanking the ancestors, thanking and just thanking everyone. And I think I even sent you a thing said, oh God, thank you for telling me about this place, because it was really beautiful. And
yeah,
so,
but that was only a piece of it.
That was a piece.
Yeah, but before we kind of get into something
even better.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was like, each place, we were like, damn, this is gonna get better than this. Because walking into that particular, we went into 4 that day, but walking into that one initially, I was like, damn. And we even saw someone, the first signs of cosmetology. Somebody was cutting somebody's hair, and I was like, damn, like Black people really got to realize that we have really laid down the foundation. I know people, keep saying that, but to see it with your own eyes, it was dope.
And you got to put this. I want people who are listening. We just showed you this. Now, when this was done, 2000 BCE, there is no major city in all of Europe. There is no Greece yet, and Rome definitely isn't. You probably got them sucking the she wolf's tits at this point. Okay, they're still in caves. There is no France. Those are the ghouls, running around in the mountains during this time period. There is definitely no England, the Sacs and the Pecks no, there's no Germany. There's no Russia. There's, there's probably little hamlets in these little places where you got little groups hanging out near the caves. You got the Flintstones. So if you can imagine the Flintstones, that was the state of Europe. During the time we were doing this. And the Flintstones might have even been more modern than they were, okay?
Yeah, 100%.
So from my understanding, that was the first stop for you guys, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to tie this into where we are now, and again, this language piece, and just understanding the role of the language in following the warriors and the spirituality, and understanding looking at the movement of the animals and things like that. So we know we got this class come up in next week. But I really want to kind of see, like, looking at those tombs, and I hope people were inspired by what they just saw, because it's definitely inspirational to see that and to see the continuing, legacy. Like I said, 4,000 years. You think of Mfundishi doing the arts in front of it, and 4,000 years before that, and we see these bridges again in Brazil. We also want to see that connection with learning this language, and we just want to see if we can kind of just expound on that a little bit. And I guess for this, I go to you, Dr. Motley, and see if you kind of have any insights on this and how we can make it relevant.
Yeah, and a way I would think of connecting it all together is if you think of Mentuhotep II's reign, he reigned for like 60 years, I believe, Seba, and he fought for 40 of those. And if you think of a lot of these leaders, they spent majority of their time, trying to secure kind of their land or save a thing. But what I think is beautiful about this Mentuhotep class is it talks about how Mentuhotep went to war physically, but also economically, how he thought about trade, also culturally, how he thought about ushering in this classical literature age, because we got to preserve knowledge. To you all's point about the newsletter, we need to have our own kind of circulation of what's going on that's for us and by us. And how do we kind of preserve this to make sure that those after us, will kind of have access and kind of all of those things. But the Mentuhotep is centered, kind of around how he fortified himself to become this warrior, but also just a great holistic leader. And so I think that's beautiful. And then the way that I would tie that to Medu Neter is Mfundishi Jhutyms. He's a master of what he likes to call it is symptomatic thinking, but it's a master of symbology. So when you learn Medu Neter, you're not just going to learn about, the feather of Ma'at being of an ostrich. You're going to learn about this ostrich, how this ostrich is perfectly symmetrical, because if one feather is missing on their left side, they won't be able to turn left. Like the feathers actually guide how an ostrich run, and they provide kind of all of this direction. Another example is, Nasut Biti is what the kings were called. Why did they use a bee? Why that symbol? Well, when you think of the bee, when you think of its anatomy, technically its body is too heavy to fly. Bees are not supposed to be able to fly, and that's why they buzz. They keep their vibration high so they can carry the burden. So that will be a perfect symbol for leaders, for one, because they're pollinators in all aspects, but another, because they have to keep their vibration high because they have this huge burden to carry. And so these are things I would never learn unless taking that Medu Neter course, because we're not just learning, how you learn Spanish and you're like, okay, mercado means market. But here you're learning the word, but also the symbol. And that symbol, that thing goes in your subconscious. That influences your behavior. That's how you kind of reprogram your life. So that's how kind of all of these classes are just powerful in informing who you are as a leader. How are we making it today? And you can say we're kind of in an intermediate period, and so what are we doing with this? How are we preserving our knowledge? How are we fortifying our communities? How are we, kind of having this strong individualism within the collective and kind of really recognizing our purpose? And so all of these things are essential, and to sit in these classes, it just makes it powerful. And I'm a unapologetic repeat offender of these classes. I've taken Medu Neter, I don't know how many times, Mentuhotep, I don't know how many times, and I learn something new every time. I get more insight, every time. So I definitely encourage you all to look at, to get on the website, email us, sign up for those courses, because it's beautiful in just teaching about the culture, the language, but also in fortifying yourself as a leader.
Right. Just want to put the dates up and the email and the website again, so people can sign up for it. And thank you. Definitely. Mfundishi, you want to get into that before we move on?
Yeah, I just want to say, and thank you, Dr. Brittany. But we also take you through like a rites of passage as you're learning this. You get a chance to really delve into the culture. So the language, again, isn't just stagnant. like you're saying, like you're just learning another foreign language. You understand that the whole earth is not only a library, but a university. So the earth is a library and a university. And instead of you just running through it, running over it, walking over it, you get a chance to experience it. And the Medu Neter stops you for a minute and say, you see that bird you've been looking at? That bird is trying to teach you something. And you're too ignorant to even learn the lesson. You won't even slow down enough to learn the lesson the bird is trying to teach you. These insects are here to help balance the ecology, the ecosystem. And we just smashing them and destroying them and don't understand why. We just cutting down the trees. We don't understand that the trees is giving off the oxygen for us to breathe. So if you ain't got no trees, you ain't got no oxygen, you ain't got no breath. There's a relationship to nature. It's an encyclopedia. It's a whole library. It's a classroom. It's a university. The Medu Neter helps you decipher that. Helps you become a student of nature. It helps you step outside of yourself for a second. My mother used to say, when you get a little old and you think you don't want to listen no more, she said, "Oh, you smelling yourself." You know,
I think we've all heard that.
Put your ego to the side and let nature teach you. And so the Medu Neter is that step. When we go into the books, we go chapter by chapter, so it's slow enough that everybody can comprehend it. We either have somebody reading the chapter or we have a tape, audio tape of the chapter. And so not only is your reading, you get a chance to hear somebody else so that maybe you can just take notes in the book, you know. So we give you both options. There's a reading, there's somebody reading to you, and then you're doing your own reading. And then you got a whole week to answer the question. And then the questions are geared to what you were talking about, Brother Taki, is that how can we use this today? So I might ask you, there was some proverbs and folklore in that particular chapter. Which one did you like the most? And can you use that in your life today? How relevant is that right now?
That's nice.
You know, so we get into stuff like that. I might say Mfundishi Jhutyms had to make a decision. If you were in his place, would you have made that same decision? If not, what would you have done? You know, things of that nature. So you begin to think, we got to organize our community. Mfundishi Jhutyms did this. Can you imagine doing that in your community? What do you think the results would be? You know, so we're preparing people to deal with warfare right now.
Right. I think it's very important that it's put in that context because, you know, our goal really should be reaching out to the, the community at large. And there's some real life problems people having, and they want to know what the hell it's got to do with them today. So we don't make sure or find ways to, one, make it plain, and two, make it applicable for folks, the reasons why we should learn this stuff and what does it have to do, how's it going to improve my life. We're not really showing step-by-step ways how this thing will change your life for the better and why we need this medicine, right?
Yeah.
I think we failed.
So
yes.
You show me a person who don't know their culture, I'll show you a person who's sick. And he might be sick and retarded.
Shit.
And he might be sick, retarded, and an enemy of not only himself, but all of us. Even though he looks like us.
Damn, you want to keep going? So, all right, Felicia, I'm sorry. Back to you. Back to you and Bob and Mfundishi Jhutyms about your fantastic experience. So after you left Beni Hassan, what was the next place?
We went to Hawara, and it was just like the contrast between colors. You'll see with me. Just look at that. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Now, what people have to understand, that used to be a pyramid. The top part all fell away. So even though this is like in the 6th century, this is like 100 years after the Great Pyramid, technology had declined.
So this is actually the Pyramid of Huni.
Okay. Huni. Yeah, that's the fifth. That's the end of the fifth. That's
the end of the third. We're
so
coming into the third dynasty.
So this is still way after the Great Pyramid.
Right.
And I'm just trying to show you how technology has declined already. Smaller little bricks that fell away, couldn't hold the weight. If you go inside, it's not finished and polished with writing on the walls and stuff like that. So
yeah, we went inside anyway.
Yeah,
so I gotta.
That was a real struggle too.
You said you were what?
No, I just said that was a struggle inside.
Yeah, that was a little. I figured this is the thing. You come all these, hundreds of miles to go to a place. You might as well just go on in.
Yeah.
Just go on in. Just just go. And yeah. You just hope for the best, and you feel like if anything happens, you're with your ancestors, so it's gonna be all right.
So you want to go to the next location?
Yeah, let me just. I'm sorry. Let me just. I'm gonna show you just a couple of pictures of us inside. Well, yeah, kind of going inside. At some point, I think someone looked up and said they saw like bats or something, and we were like, no, just don't look at them, just keep looking straight. Because like I think if you look at bats, they move or something. I don't know, but that was a little interesting. I'm sorry, family. We had so many pictures. This little StreamYard doesn't allow you to really upload all your stuff the way you need to. And again, family, I want just for a quick second, just go back to those steps at Beni Hassan. Yeah, because let me tell you, if Mfundishi 75 years old, he was getting it in. There's only one time he stopped, and that was there's like a little midway where you can stop and I know they didn't design it this way so you can take pictures, but we stopped and we took pictures. And I was just like, and I just remember telling everyone, there's no one can do any type of complaining because Mfundishi is walking straight up and he's not stopping at all. And so, yeah, so this is us, going inside. And that was
the top there, going at the leading there.
Yeah. It's definitely the amazing thing, and it's very similar to going to see Harkuf in Aswan, Tombs of the Nobles, up those steps. You got these places where you got to really get up on top of these mountains to kind of see this greatness. So I just want to just go into the next destination. We got some other people who are going to join the discussion after Dr. Motley and Mfundishi Jhutyms leave. So if we can, we just get to Hawara, which is, to me, I'll share this, is one of the most, I think it's a very beautiful place because it has this, like it's actually what they call Egypt, the Fayoum, in the oasis. So you're not really around the desert. It's actually kind of a lot of vegetation. There's a creek behind it. It's in a decent state of repair, but it's a very, very obscure pyramid kind of out there, kind of by itself. I believe it's Amenemhet III, which is also from this Middle Kingdom period as well, towards the end of the Middle period. All right, so
yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So definitely want to get into that. I believe this is the entrance right here, the Huni's pyramid. That's what this is, on the slopes going inside the slope of the bottom part of the pyramid, which is the right angle, which was remaining aspects of the right angle pyramid, in which you had a lot of times between the third, after the creation of Zoser's pyramid, the step pyramid, and the red brick pyramid in Dashur, the first right angle pyramid, you had attempts at right angle constructions by building step pyramids first. And they would just kind of enclose the sides of the pyramids in to make them right angle shapes, but they would all collapse and fail until they started building right angle pyramids from the beginning to the end. Instead of kind of creating two pyramids in one, they would do steps, then they would just kind of enclose the I guess the indentations of these steps in and kind of smooth it down. But again, all those attempts failed. There were several of those, and this was the last one that was done that way. And then following that period, or following this, you had the first right angle pyramid, because Senefru succeeds Huni and does the first right angle pyramid. So, but they were trying for a while. They tried for about 100 years to get that right. And you can see that even in Saqqara, you can see some of the step pyramids that were transformed to right angle pyramids, but all those attempts, like I said, didn't make it through time. So it seemed like Mfundishi kind of stepped away. So Felicia, you just want to go ahead and finish talking about your experience there?
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I mean, this is one of the mastabas there. It's huge. It's one of the largest mastabas I've seen. I think it's of an unknown owner or occupier. I don't really know who it belonged to, but I remember having an experience of going in here. It's one of my most exciting moments in all my trips thus far to Kemet, was going inside this mastaba here. But go ahead, Felicia.
Yeah, we were unable to go in. They looked like they started to do some excavation. And so we were not able to go in for this. We were just outside. Yeah.
So we put the promo video out, when we were promoting this particular tour. And in there's some clips from when I went in there about definitely over 20 years ago. Got a chance to go inside. I'm glad we had the opportunity to really kind of capture it and document it well. So I have some more extended footage of it that I didn't necessarily share. But so let's kind of move on to the next location.
Yeah, that's the other locations, all videos, which we already kind of we met our max on videos on StreamYard.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
But let me tell you what we're going to do though. We're going to actually, and this is like just going back to what Dr. Motley said and what Taki said and what Mfundishi said about this, this place of getting, information and having, it being something that we're really utilizing. So for our next edition for HAPI Talks that comes out in February, we'll put in links, so you can see these private videos. Some of them are kind of funny and stuff. And I'll even put the, other videos of Mfundishi up there. But yeah, we'll include that in the newsletter.
Okay. So Bob Mfundishi, do you have any? Well, I guess I'll start with you, Dr. Motley, then I'll finish off with Mfundishi.
Our closing words is that Medunetia class starts next Sunday.
Wait, I just going to take Dr. Motley's closing words. Okay, go ahead.
No, I was going to finish with you, Bob Mfundishi. Start with her, then finish with you.
Dr. Motley, did I cut you off? I'm sorry.
You did not. You did not say, well, you're good. I have nothing else, just that I hope to see you all in class. In the same way that Felicia said, it's cool going on trips with people because you just get to meet new people and learn from them. The same thing with these courses. Like, it's people from all over that just get to, become part of a community. So it's a beautiful way to network. So I hope to see you all. And thank you so much.
Again, the classes start next week. The Medunetia class and the Menchu Hotep and the Spiritual Warrior, they start next Sunday. And we just want people to sign up at mfundishijhutyms.com. And if they have any questions, they can email me at mfundishijhutyms at Yahoo or mfundishijhutyms@gmail. And send your email, and I'll make sure that Dr. Brittany will send out the information for you so that you can become part of this experience. And again, even the people who've taken it once, if you take it twice, you're just going to learn more. Each time, each layer, there's different layers that you're learning on top of it. And I never teach the same thing exactly the same way twice. So you still, I don't care if you had me for that class, it's going to be exciting and different the next time you take it also. I don't want people to say, oh yeah, I had him one time. No. It's going to be different every time. So we're just looking forward. People, please sign up. We have to support ourselves. I think when the HAPI film came on, it said it was $1.4 trillion. I heard it this year is $1.6 trillion.
Yes, it went up.
Damn.
We still would be the 16th wealthiest nation in the world, but we don't own or manufacture hardly anything. And we're our own people. We have to support each other. We have the ability to do everything we need, to create everything we need, teach everything we need, and produce everything we need. We have to believe in ourselves and know that we can do it. So hopefully our classes will be full.
Absolutely.
Hopefully people will sign up and we can get this ball rolling. And maybe you'll be a Menchu warrior.
Yes, get so inspired to do that. All right, people. So listen, we thank you for joining us. Family, please stay tuned. We have much more to discuss. Definitely want to give a big shout out to my brother, Dr. LaRoche, for his generous donation in the super chat. Thank you, brother. And we want to definitely say thank you to Dr. Brittany Motley and Mfundishi Jhutyms for your contributions tonight. It was such a inspirational discussion, and I hope people take from it and apply it to their lives and figure out how they can keep this spirit of resistance going. Yeah. So until the next time we see you Black people soon. Peace.
Peace.
So family, we have some other people we want to bring on. They've been patiently waiting in the background, and do apologize for having them backstage for so long. And these are people who were actually, we just want to, we talked about community earlier. We want to also, as we start this new season of HAPI Talks, extend this to the family as well. Get into some conversations and discussions regarding just everyday people, not necessarily our scholars or our politicians or our economists, but people who may just have other things to talk about from their perspective. And I think that's very important. So you'll see a lot of this coming in the near future. And these are a brother and sister who've been with us and have a lot to share from their perspective. And we look forward to hearing from them. So with that, we're going to bring on our two guests that's been waiting so patiently behind stage.
And one guest has my same little hoodie on. Okay. Which this is why we trying to tell y'all you have to get to the HAPI store. It's a clearance.
Yes.
Clearance, get your HAPI hoodie.
And definitely support it. Just support it. If you don't want to do the donations, just support it. Get the merchandise.
Yeah.
Just talk about it, like, share, comment. There's so many different ways.
Yeah.
Peace, Wally. Peace, Valerie. How you people doing today?
Peace, Sam. How y'all doing?
Yes.
All right.
Good to see you guys again.
It's good to see you. I feel out of place. I gotta get me some wiz, man. Oh man.
100%. So we want to first just thank you guys for like Taki said, being patient and traveling with us. And we really wanted to just let the audience know, because we bring on historians, economists, we bring on all these people, but HAPI Talks is really it's every person, everybody, we're all part of this collective movement, so to speak. And we just want to tell you, just it's everyday people to just talk about, we're going to first just want to hear why did you guys decide to travel to Kemet? We'll start there. Like, why did you guys decide to travel to Kemet this time? Like in November when we went. What was your thinking? We'll start with you, Valerie.
Well, thank you for allowing me to come to the house for the first time and share my story with you. And it kind of like was not even a decision with me. It was more like a life path thing. Because I'm one of those people that, you know, you have people who say, well, it's on my bucket list. Well, you know, at 6 years old, I don't think I had a bucket list. So I've been wanting to go to Egypt, Kemet, since I was a child, since I first saw pyramids. And the reason why is because someone told me that nobody knew how they built them. So, you know, you may know of children, when you give them a mystery, they want to know how to solve it. They want to know more about it. So that was one of the driving reasons. The other one is, and there's been several. When I saw HAPI on these interwebs, just running around on the interwebs and many different platforms on YouTube, I was kind of putting pieces together saying, okay, they go to Egypt, they go to Kemet. And I always knew that when I wanted to go, you just don't want to go with somebody's going to tell you, oh, this is what this is. This is about your history. This is your ancestors. This is the greatest civilization on the planet. So you need to know accurate information. So that was put together for me. And the last one was finally I made, you know, a decision and was all in when I saw HAPI Talks with with Professor Small. And I think it was the last one y'all might have done, which he was talking about, oh, y'all got to get your mind right, right? So
yes, with Kaba Cabernet, and
yes, right. And something that he said, and I had put it down in my phone at the time. He said that we have like millions of ancestors inside of us, and you have to wake them up, you know, and to make that connection. And that resonated like really hard with me. And waking them up is the answer to everything. So to see the place in which they use nature to wake themselves up, to be awake, to create a civilization, which is really the foundation of wealth, which goes back to the film. You know, nature is this foundation. That's what it's built on. So that's why I wanted to go, and that's why I wanted to go with y'all.
That's what's up. That's what's up. And Waleed, I saw you shaking your head a lot. You've come with us twice. Yes. So tell us, what made you want to come back?
Well, the first time I went was a life-changing experience. And once I heard that when you guys were going to ancient Mahez, I knew I had to be a part of that trip. I've taken classes with Mfundishi, Masterclass 1 and 2. And what he stresses a lot in those classes is learning to be captain of your own ship. And each time I take a class with Mfundishi Jhutyms, each time I go to Kemet with HAPI Talks, I'm learning to be captain of my own ship. So that was definitely one of the driving forces behind me wanting to go back to Kemet again, continuing to learn to be captain of my own ship. Also, Mfundishi Jhutyms stresses, you know, those 5 domains he always talks about: the mineral domain, the plant domain, the animal domain, the human domain, and the spirit domain. So all of these lessons are helping me grow to continue to be captain of my own ship. So that was definitely the driving force.
Can I just piggyback on what Waleed said? If you're going to Kemet, and if you're going to Kemet with HAPI Talks, you want to have Waleed with you. I just want to say that because he is such a wealth of information. When I was pointing things out on the walls in the temples, he was like, yes, that's what that is. I said, oh man, I got it right. You know, not only that, being on this pilgrimage made me want to learn more. So I am enrolled with Mfundishi's class that's beginning next week. I can't wait for it to start. Brittany knows how excited I am. So yeah. I just wanted to let you know it was a pleasure traveling with you, brother.
Thank you for that. Appreciate that. It was a pleasure traveling with you also. Absolutely.
Definitely love to see Black love and Black community come together in very different ways, you know, outside the biological family, coming together in other family being created in other ways, you know, outside of blood. So it's definitely very positive.
Yeah. And, you know, you guys didn't know each other prior to going.
No.
No.
But I mean, that group we had, that was family.
That's
I
family,
mean,
yes.
that's what you're going to get. That's the experience. It's like you family because, you got to do those 332 steps together.
Yes.
Yes, it was 332 steps that we walked up. Yes, that's right. Yes.
You're having your meals together, you're bonding, you're talking about what you're seeing. It's really a beautiful experience.
Yeah. And so, I was going to ask you guys, what did you think about, because have you guys, well, no, this is your first time, Val, but Waleed, have you ever been to Egypt with any other group?
No, only Marquette.
Okay, so what did you guys think about the price point? Because people are always talking about, oh, is this much money to go? And this, like, what did you think about that?
Well, it's well worth it because it includes everything: your airfare, your hotel, your food, all the admissions to the different temples and everything. And it's so culturally enriching that you really can't put a price tag on it. But the money that you do spend is well worth it. It's well worth it. Taki and Felicia, they top notch, treat us very well. Nice, very, very nice hotels. Everything. We actually had police escorts that would ride in front of us to make sure that we weren't held up in traffic and everything. So, I mean, we first class all the way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The entire team, the entire international team that y'all got, all the boots on the ground, people looking for us, looking out for us. It was amazing. We felt safe the whole time. And the price point to me, your money is well spent. And if you think about all the other things that, I just got to say this, you think about all the other things that you throw money away on, and then you got this lingering in the back of your head. I should do this. I should do this. You got the money, do it. And you won't regret it. Compared to other places, you need somebody who is like you, looking like you, explaining this stuff to you.
Very important.
Yeah. And I just want to kind of add about traveling with Waleed and just having taken the Medunetra class with Mfundishi a couple of times now. And you start to put it together. And anytime, like I was looking at stuff and I was like, wait, and, then we started figuring out, just by looking at these pictures, like when people were talking in other groups, we're like, that don't even make no sense because we, and that's literally from the classes with Mfundishi and how he's really, stressing like certain things and giving us a practical way to look at these shapes. These shapes and these images. And so I really, I appreciate that. But we had a good time. But it's like we always have a good time. And it's magical because you get to JFK and you don't know anybody. But then by the time you get off the plane, everybody's best friends. And it's not like you were up on the plane talking to everyone, but it's just it's a bond that's really nice. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So we just got two more questions. So what was like the one thing that stood out to you on this trip in terms of like a place you visited or just anything, like just what stood out? Like what was one of your favorite memories?
For me, it was definitely ancient Mehez, what they call Beni Hassan. Like you said, even before we went up the 332 steps, we sat down with Mfundishi Jhutyms in like a little courtyard, and he gave us some history and some background of, why the warriors are there and what happened. And then when we had to climb the 332 steps and we finally got into the tomb, I know for me, I felt like a jolt of energy, some type of resonated with me. And it was amazing. And that was one of the things that really stood out to me because it was almost like I was connecting. I felt some energy, and it was almost like I was connecting with the warriors in ancient Mehez. So that absolutely stood out for me.
Yeah, 100%. And
well, for me, I'm glad you said that word, connection, Waleed, because that water the HAPI Iteru, that water is so powerful.
Yes.
I felt the vibes coming off of that water, and it's dense and it's all encompassing. It's in everything. It's in the trees. It's in the air, and it has like pure potential. So as we were going up south, I think that's the right way to say it.
Yes.
Well, as we were going up south, the closer we got to Nubia, the more I can feel it. So for me, it was that connection. And for a minute, I mean, I had to really understand what it was, because like for 4 hours, I was like in a trance. I thought I was sleeping, but I was not sleeping. It was the energy of it. So what bad can come from something like that? What bad can come from that kind of atmosphere? Of course, they were able to build the greatest civilization on the planet with that artery running through there like that. That's the kind of energy that I felt. And I have told somebody about it, and he was like, you got to tell your story. You got to talk more about it, because it was like encompassing me the entire rest of the trip. It changed the entire vibration for me. I was able to see things much more clearly than I was able to see them when I was trying to study on my own. For instance, I understood a lot about how Mfundishi was talking about the shapes of the columns, and how they were shaped like bamboo, and how they were shaped like lotuses, because that is how much they revered nature. So that was able to be a lot more clearer to me. The entire energy after that water, I mean, that to me, that's when the party started on this trip. When I went to Nubia, and to see the people, to get off of the boat and to have them look at you and say, welcome home. That's a very special experience for someone who has made their first pilgrimage back to the motherland. So also the carriage ride, I enjoyed that a lot. The hot air balloon, I can go on and on. So, if you're asking me about what my favorite moments are,
several.
Yeah, I have a lot of them. And my only question is, when we going back?
Yeah, and and that's actually a good segue to tell people, listen, if you guys want to travel, because that's another reason why you should be signed up for the newsletter. But if you want to travel with us, you send us you can just like send us a little note. You can go to iCat Tours. Let me just pull it up here. You can go to iCat Tours, and you just hit the little button that says get connected. And you can do it on our Happy Film page or our iCat Tours page. And that way it sends your email, and then we contact you when we have the next trip. Yeah, right there, iCat Tours.
Yeah, the best way definitely is the newsletter. Definitely sign up for that, as Sister Felicia was saying, and be a part of it. But just sitting here listening to you guys speak about your experiences, I'm just, it's resonating with me, and I'm going back to those feelings, particularly like my first time in traveling to Kemet since 1999, and I stopped counting how many times I've been. But one of the things for me at this point is, I really feel a sense of purpose when you hear stories like that, testimonials like that, people really, really having those types of experiences. Because I remember, feeling that way, and I'm vicariously living, through you guys in, your experiences traveling there. And it's definitely something that is the information, the images, just the spirit of it has shaped and changed my life in such a very positive way. So I implore people to get into it. And there's no lie that taking our history from us is the biggest weapon, because once we kind of empower ourselves with who we are, it definitely changes the outcome of our lives. Because we just a lot of our younger people, especially the young kids, they do what they do because it's no self-esteem. But once you give them that and they see themselves in that light, they just become they become a different person. It's so interesting because Kemet, we link about, and I'm gonna kind of close out with this. Kemet was the most enduring civilization it lasted for over 3,000 years. No civilizations anything even close to that. But when you think about why it lasted so long, it's because they were constantly inspiring generation after generation. We look at the artwork today and we get inspired by it, but there's 1,000 years from the pyramids to someone like King Tut. You know, so when you think about that time span, they were looking at the pyramids and getting inspiration from it. You know, they were looking at the statues, the tombs, the temples. They saw this stuff as we see it today. They saw it then. So they garnered inspiration the way we garner it now when we visit. So living there for the young people that were generations after, you know, they're great historians, or they're not the great historians, they're great forefathers and foremothers. They was like, wow, I want to be just like them. So it was very easy because it was, you know, implanted in their brains. They were being educated by it with the symbolism and the symmetry and everything they saw on a daily basis. This is why it's important for us to do it now, because we saw the success of how they utilized those images to empower them generation after generation after generation, and kept them in the space that they needed to be in. So today we need to take a page from that book, see it the way it's supposed to be seen, and to be inspired in a way to build the way they did. So, you know, it's not just necessarily going there, but they put it there for a purpose, and they built for a purpose, and the purpose they built for was to continue life through the next, you know, people would see it. You know, you think of the great warriors, they were just following the footsteps of the other ones. The great builders, they was following the footsteps of the other ones. So yeah, it's very purposeful to see it, and you know, especially for our people, and just so they can wake up tomorrow feeling like they're a different person.
When Mfundishi was talking about, you know, that warrior in us, another thing that's good for them to see is how they have tried to erase so many things on these temples. The vandals,
of course,
things that they have done. That's very important for them to see, because he's, you know, people getting their feelings, and that warrior spirit is what's needed when they look at things like that. Because when they begin to put things together, when they come home and see these other things that are happening to erase us, they see the pattern and understand that something needs to be done. So that warrior piece is very important, especially when looking at that stuff.
Absolutely. Even if you are a fighter in the classroom,
yes,
and your mission is to teach young Black children about the history, I think that's one of the greatest warriors we can have. So there's so many different ways to fight and to resist. But yeah, so I guess Bulali, we'll start with you. Do you have anything else you want to add to the discussion?
Well, I just want to make, like Valerie said, we really need to get the message out to the youth. They really need to see it for themselves. I know for me, my family always asks me about, how was your trip? What did you do? How was your life different? So I know for the next time I go, I'm trying to bring about 7, 8 people with me. My nieces want to go. My nephews want to go. My brothers want to go. My mom wants to go again. You know what I'm saying? So many people are inspired.
Yeah, shout out to your mom. She's all right.
She was with us. She was with us in the room in the building. She was here. I don't know if she's still here.
Oh yeah, she was watching.
Okay.
But yeah, so many family members and friends of mine are inspired, and they want to learn, and they want to see. And so yeah, like I want to bring about 7, 8 people with my group next time with you guys. So you know, more people need to hear the message and see it. And honestly, the more you watch HAPI Talks and you take the classes and you read the books, your trip is so much more enriched when you have this information with you. So definitely take the classes with Mfundishi Jhutyms. Watch HAPI Talks. Read the books.
Watch HAPI Film.
All of our healers. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, you can watch HAPI Film.
Yes, watch HAPI Films. Absolutely. So that's the message we want to get across to the youth. They have to come and see it for themselves.
Yes, facts. Sister Valerie, you got any closing words?
Just what Brother Wali was saying. The starting starting them off young. Like I said, I was 6 years old, all right? And something came of it along the way. So imagine how many young ones are running around right now with that same thought and that same ambition in their minds and their hearts and their spirits. Imagine how many of them want to be archaeologists. And ain't nobody in their circles even understanding what that word is about, right? So that's very, very important. So I look forward to being a part of that particular.
It was hot as hell. It was hot as hell. It was hot as hell.
It was. Nice. It was so good. We want to make more moments like. We want to make more moments like that for the children. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like we just, I'm telling you, it's like instant family. I feel like these people are like part of like me growing up. I felt like I had a friend of like Valerie, and my my older brother was like Waleed. Like Waleed's let me tell you, just a side note, Waleed's a lot of fun. He's about action, about having fun, and taking every time you look at him, he was up on some type of structure, and I was like, oh my gosh, well, we got beautiful pictures. But
yeah, we had a great time.
They were yelling at me, Felicia.
Yeah, every time I see it, I just had to play like interception. Just let me just we got this picture, then we roll off. But the thing about it is like the connection, to these monuments, to this space, and being really open to that. It just does something different to you, and you get over there, and each one is a different part of you being touched. It's really nice.
Yes.
I just can't emphasize. It's just so nice.
And we were very, very well taken care of. That was my first flight that long. And so that was a first for me as well. So I survived it. It was very, very pleasant. And we got off, but everything went smoothly. And it was a 7-star operation. I made that up. It's not 5 stars. 7-star operation.
There it is. There it is.
All right, family. Well, thank you for being a part of this, and we will definitely be in touch with you soon, because there are definitely some things we're in the makes, and we're always going to try to keep pushing the bar further and further. So just stay tuned. For what's new in the world of HAPI, and we will be in touch with you soon. So definitely want to just say goodnight to our guest Valerie and Waleed, and just family stay in the building for a minute so we can close out the show.
Dua.
Peace, family.
Peace, fam. Thank you.
Oops. Okay.
So, Felicia, in the spirit of this community, because it seems like, even unintentionally, these are the things that happen. We think we both got the shirt on, the double HAPI, uniting the community here, and what it's really, you can't really see it, what it's really all about. Just bringing togetherness, and just want to just kind of talk about that, for a second in this newsletter piece. I understand we also have a different email address.
Yes. So, I put it up a couple of times, but right here. So it's, if you want to advertise with us, 100% send us an email. And the other piece I wanted to just add on to when we were talking about this community piece is that we can't see everything all the time. And we try to ingest as much social media as our brains can take to kind of see what's out there. But there's things happening all around the world, that we want to tell everybody about. So you can send us a line, like let us know, that you're doing some conference in Tennessee, because, all of us need to support each other. And it's literally about getting the information. It's getting it, getting it out.
Yes, definitely. And also, and by doing so, supporting one another, things of that nature. So we've been 4.5 years. We've always featured a Black business one Black business in the newsletter. Now we're definitely opening it up for anyone who has a business. They can do quarter, half, full page ads. So definitely, if you're interested, definitely hit us up, happymarketingads@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And, take advantage of this opportunity, because everything that we've done in Happy thus far through the newsletter has been a tremendous success. Everyone who's advertised with it has had tremendous success. And, we're going to have some much further information about this as well. So, but here's an opportunity for you to be one of the first people to really get involved in this.
Yeah, because let me tell you, the first people always get the good prices. Okay, so you want to make sure, and when you send us your email, make sure you have your contact information in there, so we can kind of talk to you and figure out what specifically you're trying to do, and that way we'll be able to better kind of get something that's for you. But yeah, this is like our
it's time. And like I said, not just, business side, just intellectually, you have things to share. We've been hearing from the scholars a lot of different things. So, just if you got something going on, let's kick it, So Felicia, you got anything else before we close out?
No, I think we're good. We just make sure everyone, please subscribe, like, and share this video. That's super important. Just like the button, make sure that you are actually subscribed to all of our platforms. We're on, not Twitter, we're on X, IG, Facebook, and of course, YouTube. And when you are subscribed to YouTube, make sure you hit the notifications button. That way, you know exactly, when we're going to go live.
And 40,000 is right there. We've been away for some time, but we're about to be on our regular schedule again. We have some new guests coming in, people we haven't interviewed yet. So we've been kind of working behind the scenes to improve HAPI Talks and just have some different type of discussions. So we look forward to seeing you, family, and we look, and on the next shows, the next events, next trips, all things HAPI. All right. So with that,
all right.
I just want to say peace.
Peace.
I don't know what we can talk about in this nation without talking about white superiority, honestly.
Who defines the meaning of God also defines the relationship between economy and God.
African Americans spent $1.3 trillion last year, making us the 16th wealthiest nation in the world. Why have we not turned those riches into wealth to develop our community?